Hey there, welcome to Contracts and Chaos. My name's Alyssa.
And I'm Brenna, and we're here to tell you that you are not alone in the mayhem of this real estate industry.
We're keeping it real and sharing our stories, strategies, and successes in today's real estate world.
So come join us every Tuesday while we talk contracts and chaos. Awkward 2 seconds out before somebody answers, like dead space when you're watching the news. You know, they're like, back to you. And they stand there and they're like, and
yeah, and we haven't had an issue like this in forever. Like, that's part of why I felt confident inviting a guest. I was like, okay, we've been good. And now I'm like, what's going on?
We've got this.
Oh, goodness.
It figures.
All right, well, let's
get started.
Right? All right, we are thrilled to introduce our guest today, Miranda Whitley. She's the owner of Every Last Cent in Mooresville, North Carolina. Miranda's journey started in a rural town in North Carolina to the bustling Lake Norman area. And it's nothing short of inspiring. If you know Lake Norman, it's definitely bustling. I was up there yesterday in Denver, and it was crazy. Miranda holds a BS in managerial accounting from Johnson and Wales University and an MBA in business management from Winthrop University. Alongside her husband, Miranda ventured into entrepreneurship. Jonathan's landscaping business evolved into a successful grading and excavation venture, while Miranda embarked on her own side hustle, renting wedding decor, which we're going to have to touch base on that because that sounds exciting. The experience of entrepreneurship opened Miranda's eyes to the unique financial needs of business owners. This realization led to the inception of Every Last Cent, Miranda's brainchild aimed at providing tailored financial solutions to entrepreneurs. I am super excited to have you here. Brenna and I met you, last month?
I think so. Yeah, it's already been a month ago. Yeah.
I think it was a month ago.
At like a little lunch and learn thing. And I walked away and was like, that is the woman I need to work with. She just answered all of my questions, and I need her to set my business up as a business. So I'm really excited to have you here today. Brenna and I are both working through reading Profit First.
Awesome. Yay. Love that.
I'm probably 75% of the way through the book. I've gotten to the part like where how to structure the bank accounts, but then like in the weeds of it, I was like, I need to walk away and come back to this when my brain is not tired.
Yes.
Because I probably read like 150 pages in one sitting, and I was like, okay. Give us a quick synopsis. Obviously, that gave us a quick overview of how you got to where you are and what you do. But would you mind giving us a little introduction of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I mean, that introduction was pretty awesome. I feel like it makes my life seem glamorous, and it's definitely not. But yeah, I think the way, like, just kind of what led me here is I actually started at Johnson and Wales thinking that I was going to go to school to, like, be a chef, which, you know, newsflash, like, I can barely cook eggs. So that was a flop. And I just realized, like, I didn't want to do that. And after taking some accounting classes, you know, you have to take them anyway. I did really well in them. I enjoyed them. I loved the professor. So she kind of encouraged me. She was like, why don't you think about switching your major? And I really just didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. But I knew that accountants really play a role in every single business. I don't care what you do. You have to know accounting to an extent. So that's kind of what led me here, and was a great decision. I then got my CPA license, and I've worked in, you know, the corporate America world, but really what my passion is helping small business owners. Just from my husband having his grading business, you know, his buddies are like, can you help me with my QuickBooks? Can you help me with this? So I kind of saw the need there. And then with the Profit First, the same thing, like my husband owned his own business, and it felt like we were constantly like, you know, he was making great money, but then like we weren't putting money in our personal bank account. Like we weren't like paying him, you know, he wasn't paying himself. And then like tax time came, and it just felt like stressful. Like, oh my gosh, we're going to owe all this money. Like we don't have the money.
That's everybody this time of year, isn't it?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And Profit First, truly, it really changed my mindset. It changed our life. And then I've seen it change like my clients' lives, like truly. Just, you know, like a couple of clients here recently have filed their taxes, and they owed significant amounts of money because they did really, really well in the year, and they have that tax account sitting there, and they just wrote the check and they moved on with their life, and it was great. And I love to see when the people who have like actually kind of oversaved a little bit for taxes, so then they get to take that little extra as a bonus, you know. So it actually turns like tax time into like kind of an exciting time for them. So what a shift from where they were a few years ago.
Yeah, because I feel like so many people are like, oh yeah, tax time because they get a refund. And then there's small business owners over here like, gosh, it's tax time again. How has it been 12 months? So I think you kind of answered
True.
one of the questions that I had as far as like what inspired you into going into helping business owners, and that was because your husband was one of those small business owners, and I feel like you saw a need, and your background in taking those courses and everything like that just kind of led into it. You were working as an auditor at one point, weren't you?
Correct.
Was
Yep.
that before you decided to step into like the entrepreneur zone as far as like renting your wedding decor and things like that?
So I was kind of doing those like side by side. Like it was kind of like a side hustle then. So that was kind of like an interesting like way I got into that business, which I sold that business in 2023. But when I was at Johnson and Wales, I also thought like I might would want to be like a wedding planner, and I kind of explored that route, but it was also like kind of working in corporate America. But I started renting stuff. Like I have a shop here at my house, and I have all kinds of decorations in there and arbors. My husband would build like the arbors and the big pretty doors, and we had lanterns and card boxes and just like all the things you can like little details you could think of like for a wedding. And that business was called Every Last Detail. So I don't know why we just kind of stuck with the name.
That's perfect.
But that was such a fun business. It really was. I made so many friends, like with the brides and like their moms, and just like other wedding planners, venue owners, and that kind of thing. It was so much fun. It was a lot of weekend work, which was fun. It was a lot of late nights, when you have to go pick up things from the venue that night. And I became a mom in 2021, and which was really exciting. And then 3 months later, I found out I was pregnant with my second, which was very unexpected. So I have Irish twins. They're less than a year apart. And I knew I had to make a shift in that business because I just couldn't do the late nights and the weekends. I mean, I don't know how anybody could afford to have childcare like every weekend. I mean, it was just got to be too
Right.
much. So I had another business owner who was doing my deliveries to some of the weddings, and he had his own rental business, and he ended up just buying me out. So it seems like things are really going great for him, and I really miss that side, but I don't miss the 11 p.m. on Saturdays going to pick up wedding decor from venues.
I can't blame you, especially since your kiddos are still little. I mean, mine are
Yes.
10 and 7 right now, and I mean, find me on the couch at 9 o'clock at night. Certainly not 11.
Yes, it. I'm telling you, yeah, they're 2 and 1, and they keep me on my toes. And they go to bed at like 7:38, and I'm in the bed by 8:30. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
so tired. I'm exhausted.
To circle back to, we told you that we're reading Profit First, and that's
Yes.
I think it was the week after we sat in your class, and I have to tell you that it was so helpful what you said in that room, because I personally know that I've sat in a couple of like lunch and learns as far as around tax season goes this year and last, and I was like, I literally could have just Googled real estate tax advice, and it would have been like, you know, all of the bullet points that are just like so
Right.
dry. And I know that this can be so interesting for some people, but for me, it's not. It's stressful. I don't understand it. So you going in there and like, well, this is a write off, and you could do this. And what if you worded it this way and structured your business this way? And I was like, I get it. All of the dots connected. So that was great. But as far as like the profit first method for you, how did you come across that, and how do you how does it differ from different
Mhm.
accounting strategies based on how you use it?
Yeah. So, your typical accountant is going to be like, oh, if you want to know if you can buy something, you need to pull your profit and loss and look at your budget and blah, blah, blah. Like, what business owner is going to do that? No one's going to do that. So, what are you going to do? You're going to go and you're going to open your bank account and look at, see, do I have enough money? So that's where Profit First really comes into play. And I honestly cannot remember who I heard about it from the first time. But as soon as someone kind of like just kind of briefly talked about it, I immediately went on Amazon and bought the book and read it in like a day and a half. And I was like, we are doing this. We're gonna try this with my husband's business. I mean, again, he was making a great income, but it just felt like there was never cash there, you know. And it was just like, well, we need to pay ourselves. We need to save for taxes. Like, it just like you need to save for retirement, you know. And it just felt like there was never money there. So I read the book, and immediately my husband, he's not going to read a book, so he watched a YouTube video about it. And we immediately went to like a local community bank. We opened the bank accounts, and it took a little getting used to. So I guess I kind of go through like a synopsis of what you do. So you have, again, this is all on Amazon. It's a book by Mike Michalowicz. Anyway, he's a genius for coming up with this. It's so simple, but every business owner really kind of needs this system, in my opinion. But basically, 5 bank accounts. So you have your income account. So all of your money goes into that account. And then twice a month on the 10th and the 25th is what the book tells you to do. The 10th and the 25th, you're going to allocate the money out of that income account and into the other 4 bank accounts. So the 10th and the 25th is just, it just kind of helps you get set up on a system. A lot of people get paid like towards the beginning of the month or like the end of the month. So it kind of helps to allocate around those times. But everybody can do kind of what works best for them. But you're going to allocate the money out to the 4 other accounts. So the first one is your profit account, because you're going to take your profit first. So that allocation really can differ across different businesses. If you're a business with really high expenses, then you're probably going to have a very low profit that you're going to put in that account. But most people start between like 1 to 3% to put into that account. Then you're going to put your tax money to the side. So again, this differs too. I usually have people start with like around 15 to 20%. And again, if you're a business with a lot of expenses, you could probably do a little bit less, because again, the percentage we're counting on is off of the revenue, which is your top line, but you're going to pay tax off your bottom line. So you're after you pay expenses. So again, you kind of have to like play around with that percentage as time goes on. And then you have your owner's pay account. So that's where you're going to pay yourself. So Mike likes to say that around 50% to goes in that account. Some businesses can't do that high of a percentage. Some can do that and more. So it really just depends on your business. And then your last account is your expense account. That's what's going to be linked to your debit card, and that's what you're going to pay all of your expenses out of. And so when you are thinking about, I'd really like to invest in this in my business, or I'd like to buy this, or I want to spend this, if you don't have it in the expense account, you probably shouldn't go get it. And it really, in the beginning of Profit First, really helps open your eyes of, whoa, like my spending might be out of control. Like I'm spending way too much, and I don't have the money there. You may realize, wow, like this is why I can't pay myself. This is why I can't save for taxes, because the expenses are just out of hand. So it kind of helps to like, realize like, okay, I need to cancel some subscriptions, or I need to like eat out a little less, those kinds of things. So again, it's really been like a game changer in my life, in several of my clients' lives, and it has become change your mindset around tax time now is, okay, I'm going to file my taxes and I've got the money sitting there, and oh, I saved a little bit extra, like I get a bonus now, So it really went from, February, March being extremely stressful, and clients having to be set up on payment plans to get the tax paid back, and which just it's just not a fun place to be. It's stressful, and nobody wants to owe the IRS. So anyway, it's been a game changer. The other thing I guess I could add to that too is you don't have to be limited to those accounts. So my husband, he has an extra bank account as well, and we labeled it like equipment purchases. So we put a little savings in there every month. That way, when the time comes, which he would go tomorrow if I would let him. When he needs a bigger excavator, or he wants a skid steer, like we have a big down payment sitting there ready. We just save it over several years, and then that way when it's time to go buy something, and it just feels less stressful, and it feels like the right purchase.
I like that. I like that you have an extra so that when something comes up, it's not just coming out of the expense account, because those are big ticket items. I mean, some of that machinery is hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes, exactly.
So just be like, oh, we got to pull that from the expense account. It's like, hold on. Wait, no. Hold on. I like that you guys have that extra account built in.
And I recommend, and even in the book they recommend, like, make sure you set this up with like a local community bank, because you don't want a bunch of fees. So like if you go like
Right.
Wells Fargo, Bank of America, you're probably going to have $12 per account per month. Like, don't do that. We recommend, the book recommends local community banks, or there's even like Relay. It's an online banking. That's actually who every last cent who we use. It's been great. So definitely recommend that, so you're not paying like per account, all these fees, especially because your income account, twice a month it's going to sit at zero because you've allocated everything to the other accounts.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I remembered you saying that there was an online bank, and I still have your take home thing,
Oh, I
but
love it.
I didn't
Yes.
write.
I have them
I
too
was like,
somewhere.
I thought it had but I was like the other day because I was reading the book and they're like, do this right now, set up this account, and I was like, what is the place that Miranda said to set up this account at?
Yes, it's Relay, and they're actually kind of like partnered with Profit First, so it's kind of incredible. I've been like really geeking out over all the things that they've like brought on. So you can actually go in and set up the allocations to happen like on twice a month automatically, so you don't have to go in and do it. You go in and you set up like recurring transfers, and it does like you set up the rules, like what percentage you want to go to each account. It'll do it automatically. It is so cool.
Oh
And then
That
wait,
is what I
we
yes.
mean. That
love
is
an
what I mean. Just set it and
automation.
forget
Yes,
it.
set it
Yes.
and forget it, and then you can, depending on which account type you have, because like there's like a basic and there's like a pro, but you can do like free same day ACH with the pro. So then you could set yourself up, like if you pay yourself monthly on the, let's just say the 15th, you can set up recurring, like pay my personal bank account this amount, and it doesn't cost anything. Like, that's another thing. You don't want to like pay a bunch of fees just to pay yourself. I mean, you could obviously write yourself a check, but if you could set up online and set up recurring, and then again, automation, I love automation, then you just don't even have to think about it. The allocations happen, you pay yourself, and you just keep on moving. It's great. It's great.
All right, ladies, I gotta go. I got some bank
Yeah,
accounts to
right,
set up. I'll let you
exactly.
guys finish
We'll
this.
reschedule the rest of this interview.
Yeah. Yes, highly recommend. Highly recommend. It's been great. It's been great.
I'm going to we have a list of things that we obviously talked to you about. So I'm going to jump around a little bit though.
That's fun.
So I know that you work with a lot of local businesses here, and
Mm-hmm.
this is going to be pushed out to, I mean, majority of real estate agents, but I know that we're going to share it personally with some small business owners that we know as well, because if you can help other people, then great. So, how do you work with business owners to customize their specific needs and goals? Because I know that each, like you said, each business is so different based on like their percentages, what needs to go where. So how do you is it a consultation setup? How do you do that?
Yeah. So it's kind of funny, like, I have a business partner, my brother Caden, and we keep laughing that our next client is going to be a clown, because we keep thinking like we're going to niche down on like a certain market or type of business. And we have clients, we have real estate agents, we have attorneys, we have an invitation and web designer. She does incredible work. We have a wedding planner. We have an HVAC company. We have a bathroom remodeling company. I mean, it just keep going. Like, it's been so funny, like that we keep thinking like we're gonna kind of pick a market and we're gonna stick to that, and then we get leads from like all over the place. Pest control. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, every business is so unique in what like their offerings are, what their requirements are. Like, do they have to pay sales tax? Like, do they have any kind of like quarterly reporting they're supposed to be doing? There's so many things. Attorneys can even have like trust accounting, which is like a whole nother ball game. So everybody does have very specific requirements. What we typically do is we offer everybody a free 1 hour consultation. So that's where like we meet with them, we talk about like what their pain points are, what problems they're having, like, because we want to be able to come up with the solutions for that. And so we kind of help, like, it kind of helps to just kind of bring together like what they really need and want, and so we can kind of design what we need to do on our side. That kind of helps us to make sure like we have like their chart of accounts set up correctly. If they're not on QuickBooks, we highly recommend QuickBooks. It's very inexpensive. When it comes to accounting, like they are the best, in my opinion. When it comes to other offerings they have, I would say they're not necessarily the best. But so anyway, we get the client set up on QuickBooks if they're not already, and then we have a secure portal we use, so we connect all of our clients to that. That's where we ask questions. Okay, like send us your EIN number. Like things that you don't necessarily want to like have in your email. And then that way, it also doesn't bog down your email. Like everybody just gets tons of emails. They don't need 15 emails from their bookkeeper in one day. It all goes into the portal, and then the portal will push an email saying, "Hey, you have some stuff in the portal. Go check it out," and then you can get to it when you have time. And it just kind of helps keep everything in one place, so we're not like losing things. And the client, if they need to find something, it's right there in their portal. They don't have to go dig through their email. But every client is so unique, but a lot of small businesses face the same issues, which is like cash flow, saving for taxes, not understanding how the finances work, in the sense like, okay, I make all this money, but like where is it going? We kind of help to bring like different reporting, and we meet with all of our clients on a monthly basis. Hey, this is what you brought in, like this is where all the money went, this is how much you have set aside for taxes, whether that's enough or not. Hey, we noticed you didn't pay yourself this month, like you need to. Those kinds of things. Some clients have a lot of credit card debt that they want to get paid down. And when I say credit card debt, typically that's like in their business credit card debt. So we helped kind of like set plans of, okay, like this is how we're going to attack it. Because if you make the minimum payments every month, it'll take you forever to pay it off. Mm-hmm. So we kind of help to set like plans in motion to kind of get things like that taken care of. There's also like, for instance, like we have a client that they purchased another business and they're making monthly payments, and then they have to pay a balloon payment at the end. Well, that's coming up in like a year. So we're like, okay, like, you haven't set aside, money for this. This is how we're going to do it. This is how much you need to save each month. Like, this is how we're going to track against that. And then as far as like taxes go, that's also just like a whole nother ball game. We don't file taxes. I am a CPA, but I don't file taxes. Quite frankly, I don't have the time, just because we're cleaning up the books and we're meeting with all our clients on a monthly basis. Like filing the taxes, like you kind of really need to be like focused on that. Mm-hmm. So we kind of help prepare our clients for taxes. So okay, like let's look at your books. Like what have you written off? Is there things that we've noticed like you maybe are missing that you could take advantage of? Okay, like let's make sure you're tracking your mileage. Let's compare that to your vehicle expenses. Those kinds of things. And then we have one tax preparer we work kind of directly with, who's been awesome. So we can kind of help facilitate like that meeting and answer questions for the client and for the tax preparer, and just make sure we're all kind of on the same page, and we all have the common goal is to pay the least but legally.
Right.
Yes. So that's kind of like the way our process works.
That's good. It's just like a like set up for success kind of situation where you have all of the ducks in a row, and we just have to take them to the person who actually files the taxes.
Right. Correct. And it's a good. I feel like having another person has been really great, mm-hmm. because there may be things that they see like, oh, like why did they only have this amount in their phone expense? Like they're like, who's their phone carrier, because that's so cheap. And I'm like, oh wow, they must have changed to bill it through their personal account and we didn't catch it, or
oh no,
just things like that. Like, so it's like, well, they could write that off, like we need to get that put on their books, or just things like that. It just kind of helps to have two sets of eyes essentially. And your tax preparer, like you're only going to talk to them once a year. They're not going to be in your books and stay on you and help you like achieve goals. Like you're going to meet with them once a year and file the taxes, and then you're going to move on, So that's why I feel like having a company like ours is so imperative.
What advice would you give to a new business owner? Because I know that this is a system that you've used personally, and I know that you've gone through like the Dave Ramsey method, you and your brother. Mm-hmm. So as far as a small business perspective for somebody who's looking at adopting the profit first method, what would you say to somebody who's like hesitant about like taking that next step of like, oh, well, I've never done it that way kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I would say if the way you're working now is working, if you're just using, one or two checking accounts and things are great and you're paying yourself and you're saving for taxes and everything's great, then stick with what you're doing. But if you've been struggling with paying yourself and paying your tax every year, I would say, what harm, could it cause? Like it's worth a shot and give it a few months to really like get in the groove. Um, but I just think like it's not necessarily a whole lot different than what you're already doing. You have to have a bank account. It's just a matter of it just puts your money into buckets, so that way you're not spending out of the whole bucket.
Right.
And it just to me it's just such a stress reliever to save for taxes and to know, okay, once a month or twice a month, whatever, I'm going to pay myself this amount. And that's something like so many business owners struggle with is they don't pay themselves. Yes. So many people struggle with
Or I
that.
just take it all out of the pot and then I'm like, oh, what are taxes?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
where did it all go? Well, in that instance though, like how for the business owners like us, because
Mhm.
we could have three closings, like you said, one month and have a great big pile of commission, or we could go, 3 months. It's feast or famine in our realm. It really is. So as
Yes.
far as overcoming those cash flow challenges, is that something as far as the profit first goes, like you said, just setting a specific amount? Because if we were to transfer that percentage into, we'd still run out. You know what I mean? So what would you do, or how would you advise somebody to help them build like the financial resilience over time?
Yeah, I mean, I think really the profit first, it really is it works honestly better for people like real estate agents that have such fluctuating income. Because you're building up these accounts, and you're moving the percentages in, and like, let's just say one month you make 30,000, like wow, I did great. And you move, let's just say 50% of that into your owner's pay. So you have 15,000 sitting to pay yourself. You're not going to just take 15,000 out. You're going to leave that in there and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to pay myself, let's just say $5,000 a month. Well, then you have 3 months sitting there. So if you don't make any money for the next 2 or 3 months, like you're still able to pay yourself. And then same with the expense. Like just because the money has like built up doesn't mean you should just like go hog crazy. And that's the thing, like if you made 30,000 in one month and you saw that sitting in your bank account, you'd be like, I'm doing good. And your spending will reflect that. And then when you don't make money for 2 or 3 more months, then you kind of like right back to square one. We're like, oh my gosh, I have no money. And then next thing you know, then it's just, it like the roller coaster, it helps you to get off of the roller coaster because you're like, okay, I didn't get a commission check this month, but I'm okay because I did my allocations. I have my owner's pay sitting there. I've already set aside the money for taxes. I'm not going to touch that account. I've already set aside, my expense money. That's, my subscriptions, my marketing, my fuel, all of that's going to come out of that account and I'm okay. I mean, there's definitely challenges. Like, you may go 3, 4, 5 months without getting commission check. And sometimes then you have to kind of pull from, your owner's pay account or something and it happens. It happens. I mean, you try to obviously avoid that as much as possible. I would say just don't take from your tax account. That would be the only thing is because you just end up getting yourself into more trouble. But I just think like really profit first really is made for those kinds of careers where like it's a roller coaster,
It is a
honestly.
roller coaster. Yeah, and I think there's something to
It
be
is.
said about this being like out of sight, out of mind. You know what I mean? Because Alyssa, we're letting our money marinate for a while. Okay, we're gonna put it in these accounts and just let it simmer.
I'm not I'm not good at. So remember, we did a podcast, an episode a couple weeks ago about probably a month ago now about our personality types based on the disc profile. And I kept saying, "Oh my God, this is me. Oh my God, this is me," because we just like we read our results live, so we had no idea what they were gonna say. You just described me to a T, and so like I'm really excited to implement this system because it's what I need. Because we also did an episode recently of, you got your license, now what? Well, no one tells you how to set up a business. There's nothing in our licensing about, hey, make sure you're doing this, make sure you're doing that. Like, not even in our continuing education. And I think that's something our industry is firmly lacking, and probably why a lot of people fail out of this industry. So, like, I told my parents last night, they were here and we were at dinner. I was like, I have to go get my LLC this week. And they were like, why? And I was like, well, because Miranda said I need to do this. And, like, I was like, and I'm going to get this all structured because I'm in that exact boat right now. I had an amazing October through December or through January, and February was dry. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm not broke, but now I'm going, oh wait, where'd all my money go? Like, what did I spend all that? And I know a lot of it was like good business investments to push me forward. But now I'm like, oh, next closing as of right now is April. So what are we doing? I'm ecstatic to implement this and get it rolling this year so that I'm not doing this next year.
Yeah,
because
I 100% agree.
we're going to have to create another category, just the two of us, to pay for animal expenses, because we seem to have really good months, and then our sweet little furry friends are like, oh crap, emergency vet visit.
Oh,
Right?
right.
Oh, mommy has money. Let me spend it.
Right. Mom had a good month.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Um, as far as we're gonna go into your business a little bit, as far
Yeah.
as the services that you offer and things like that, do you offer tiered pricing services? I know that you said that you meet with your clients on a monthly basis. So is it just one package deal, or how do you set that up?
It's kind of unique to whatever the potential client is like looking for and like what we think they need. But typically what we do is we have the discovery call with them, and if they already have QuickBooks set up, we'll get temporary access and we'll go in and like review their QuickBooks. That kind of helps us to say like, okay, whoa, you're way behind on your accounting, we have to do some catch up, or oh, you're up to date but like you just need help with this and this. If they don't have QuickBooks set up all, we might look at like some bank statements just to know like how many transactions like we're dealing with each month. But I wouldn't necessarily say we have like packages. It's really tailored to each client and like what they need. You could have like one real estate agent that has one checking account, and they're just like, I need you to do my bookkeeping, but otherwise I'm good, I have money set aside, whatever. But then you might have another real estate agent that has multiple checking accounts, multiple credit cards. They are like, oh, my life is a mess, I need help getting this stuff paid down, I need to like, I don't have anything set aside for taxes. Like they're going to need like a little more like of your time. So like their price might be like a little bit more than the next person.
So after you've started like with a client and set up those systems and things like that, how do you continue to support them through those business changes?
It's funny, like you always think like, okay, I'm gonna get them like set up and then like things are just gonna be smooth, and that has not happened yet.
Oh my gosh, it's just like working with buyers and sellers. We're like,
It's
oh yeah, this
always
is easy.
Right.
there's always some kind of like thing that comes up, right? Like, okay, oh, you need to be paying sales tax, like that's a whole nother ball game. So we have to get that set up, and then so you run into that headache, and then, oh, I want to hire somebody, can I afford it? So we help like run calculations of, okay, let's do that. So like, the like people's needs, like they change all the time. We actually just started recently where we had a business owner who came to us, was really happy with all the things like we've been doing for her, and she's like, you know what, you really helped me get like my business kind of like running like correctly, and like I feel really confident like in the business finances. She's like, but I don't feel good about my personal finances, like can you help us there? And so it's, Caden, I think I had told you before, was Dave Ramsey certified. We've both like been through that program. And so like we've almost turned into like money coaching too, which has been awesome. It's still like very new to us at this time, but it's the same things that people struggle with in their business as far as finances go, like it happens on your personal side too, like, okay, well, I've been paying myself, but like where'd all my money go, like I don't know. And so we kind of help like set up budgets and like tracking and like to show like, okay, like all your money went to Sephora this month, and it just helps to like, you don't realize like you don't like you just don't realize like how fast it adds up. And The other thing too, and this is a big one for real estate agents, is lifestyle creep. Is okay. Well, this month I made 200,000. Like, I'm doing great, and so you have this subscription, that subscription. You go from eating, at Wendy's to like you're eating at like Epic Chop House or something fancy, and like, but then like the next year is like it's not that great of a year, and you're like, well, what's going on? And it's like, why do I have all this credit card debt, or why did this add up? And it's like, well, you were doing great then, but then like the lifestyle creep started in, it's so hard to backpedal once you've kind of increased your lifestyle a little bit. Even small changes of where you're eating out at, where you're grocery shopping at. These things, they just add up so fast.
Yeah, it's so funny because when I started reading the book, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like my envelope system. And my husband gives me
Yes.
crap all the time because I started as a waitress when I was like 15 years old. And that's how I like budgeted my money, So I still have envelopes I save for, Christmas, emergencies, like all that stuff. I have cash envelopes. It's just something
I
silly that
love
he
it.
thinks that I do. But it's very similar to the profit first structure where you like
Hmm.
it's set aside, you're not seeing it in your bank account, you know what I mean? So when my dog did have an emergency vet visit Christmas morning, I wasn't a panic, well it was, but it wasn't a money panic because I have saved money for an emergency like that, you know what I
Yes.
mean? So but
Yes.
I can appreciate how personal finances, it's your lifestyle. So if you're making these mistakes in business, it's you're probably making them in your personal life as well. um do you I know that licensing is a little different for accounting and things like that, so do you work with people just here locally in North Carolina or even more hyper locally in the Charlotte area, or are you able to do like virtually or different states?
We're 100% virtual. If the client is working with the tax preparer that we recommend, then we will like go in person really for that because they're in Kannapolis, so it's not too far. But yeah, everybody's been like virtual, so really we could serve anybody in the U.S. essentially.
I One of the success stories I know you shared at the group, as far I think it was the lady with the invitations and things like that. So
Yes.
I'd love to hear some significant like experiences, benefits that your clients have seen, or success stories in your program and using profit first over the last few years.
Okay, yeah. So, a client we have, she had twin babies in September 2022, and so she's running her business like pretty much by herself. She had a couple of like part-time employees, so her business, like, obviously like really took a hit. Like, she's not there working all the time. She had twins, and like, had a lack of childcare. Her husband works a lot, so she had racked up quite a bit of credit card debt. She had like no cash. She was stressed. You could see it on her face. So when we first started working with her, she was towards like one of like our first clients, and it was incredible to watch. Like, we got her set up on Profit First. It took a couple months. Like, she kind of had to pull from owner's pay sometimes. She kind of had to pull from some other accounts to like cover expenses. But she attacked that credit card debt like with a vengeance and was like determined to get that off. And she still uses the credit card, but she pays it off every month, which is how it's supposed to be. So she went from having like a couple $100s in her bank account at the beginning of the year to at the end of the year she had like 10 grand in total over across her bank account. She has money in owner's pay to pay herself. She has her tax money set aside ready to go, and her credit card is paid off every single month. And it's just, again, it's just like life changing seeing this like mom who works super hard and has a very like limited amount of time to even get her work done. Her revenue is increased. She has cash sitting there, so she's not worried about like how she's gonna like basically make ends meet for her business every month. She can pay herself. It's just she's tax season's coming up. She's not stressed. She's like got the money sitting there ready to go. So it's just the watching the stress relief alone has been like so rewarding for us, and I think she's just been really happy with everything and how it's gone. And like, her business is gonna keep on thriving because of the systems she put in place.
I love that. The stress relief, like, there are times when people don't sleep at night because they are so stressed about these things, like, or that's what you have suddenly are dreaming about, and you're like, oh god. Or I can tell you it's when my eye starts to twitch right here or get tight, like I'm like, oh, okay. But I love that. I love that you change people's lives. Like, people think, oh, it's just money, whatever, but no, like, that has such a huge effect on some people's life and their happiness. And not that money makes you happy, but being able to manage it correctly so you eliminate that stress, super helpful in making people happier. If there was one thing you could say to a small business owner or someone new, like, you need to do this right now before you do anything else, what would it be?
Hmm. That's a good one. Oh man, I it'd be hard to narrow it down because I would want to say profit first to some business owners, but probably my biggest thing would just be to get systems put into place. Just planning in general for your money, having just systems would be the biggest thing I would say.
I love that. I love that. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I know our listeners are going to eat this episode up. Like, this, so much good information. Where, as we wrap this up, where can they find you? Website, social media, things like that. Like, where's the best place to find you so that people listening can utilize your
Yeah,
services?
so our website is everylastcentllc.com. And again, you can book a call right there on the site. It'll tell you our availability. You fill out a form. Everybody gets a free 1 hour consultation. Even if you're really not looking for, a bookkeeper necessarily, it like just to ask questions. Like we're open to do that. We love meeting new people and offering advice when we can. And then a social media, I might have to go look at what our handle is. Oh, here it's every underscore last underscore cent. And Caden is like the social media guru. I had like let him run with that, so I'm not on there a ton. So that's really bad that I didn't even know the handle. But
No, no, that's fine. That's fine.
I love that
Instagram.
you and your
Okay,
brother are doing
perfect.
this together. That's super cool for sure. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Yes.
it's been interesting, like how we got started. I mean, he was kind of looking to do something more virtual. I saw like this need. He's a like a personal finance like guru. Like I go to him for everything. Like, where should this be invested, or like even things of like which health insurance is the best for me, and he can like dissect all of that stuff that I think is just like so boring. So it's awesome. Like I really feel like we jive like really well together, and we both have our strengths and weaknesses, and we kind of like balance each other out. So it's been very rewarding.
Well, and I'll have to admit, when he said he was a Dave Ramsey certified, like, I turned my brain off for a second. And then because I was like, oh, okay. But then he said, well, credit cards are good. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. Let me check back into what he's talking about. Because and he followed up and he said there are certain principles of his that I agree with, for helping pay off debt. But other
Mhm.
things, maybe not so much. And I was like, okay, I'm listening to you again. All right. And not that I didn't want to listen to him at all, but I was just like, let me take this. Hold on. But thank you
Yes.
again. Like, this has been amazing. I can guarantee I will be booking my 1 hour consult. Because I need to put excuse my French, I need to put my shit together.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
thank you so much.
So
Yes,
anyone
this was
booking a
awesome.
consultation with Miranda, make sure you say that you listen to the podcast so she knows that you found her there.
Yes, please.
And but yes, thank you so much. And for the rest of you guys, we will talk to you next week.
Thank you guys so much.
We just finished another episode of Contracts and Chaos, but believe me, the chaos does not stop here. So check out the show notes for our email address and where to follow us on socials, and we will see you next week.